Rock and roll is built on rebellion, but what happens when that rebellion turns into straight up theft? Today we're digging into the 10 most notorious rock song thefts. Who stole what, how they got caught, and how it all went down. And trust me, some of these will shock you. Number 1, The Doors versus the Kinks.
Hello, I love you, won't you tell me your name? Hello.
Ever noticed how The Doors' Hello, I Love You sounds a little too much like the Kinks' All Day and All of the Night?
I'm not content to be with you in the daytime.
Yeah, so did the Kinks. In 1968, The Doors dropped their hit Hello, I Love You, and fans of the UK immediately went, wait a second, haven't we heard this before? The identical chugging guitar riff, the same punchy rhythm. Even the vocal delivery was eerily similar. The Kinks' publisher wasted zero time. They sued The Doors, claiming that the song was an outright copy of their 1964 hit. And guess what? They won. A British court ruled in favor of the Kinks, forcing The Doors to quietly settle out of court. Dave Davies later said he never got over it, calling it a blatant ripoff. But did The Doors ever admit it? Nope. The official story is they unintentionally copied it. Accident? You decide. Next up, we have a theft so bold, it stole from the blues gods themselves. Number 2, Led Zeppelin versus Willie Dixon.
You need cooling, baby, I'm not fooling.
It's undeniable that Led Zeppelin were one of the greatest rock acts of the 60s. But if you dig deep into their catalog, you'll find more than just power riffs. You'll find borrowed goods. Let's talk about Whole Lotta Love. That song launched hard rock into the global limelight. The heavy riff was iconic, a mind-blowing psychedelic breakdown. But when it comes to the lyrics, straight up lifted. You need cooling, baby. I'm not fooling.
You need cooling. Woman, way down.
Yup, those lines, they came straight from Muddy Waters' 1962 song You Need Love, written by blues legend Willie Dixon. And Willie Dixon? He was not having it. Dixon filed a massive lawsuit against Zeppelin, claiming they took his song and never gave him credit. It took 6 years, but in 1985, Zeppelin finally settled and added Dixon's name to the songwriting credits. You'll be shocked to find out that even after the settlement, this wasn't Zeppelin's only run-in with song theft. We'll get into more of their inspirations later in this video. But first, what happens when a Beatle gets sued for subconscious plagiarism? Number 3, George Harrison versus the Chiffons.
My sweet Lord, my Lord.
He's so fine. Wish you were mine.
George Harrison's first solo hit after the Beatles was a spiritual masterpiece. My Sweet Lord. It topped the charts, made millions, and also got him sued into oblivion. Turns out the melody was a dead ringer for the Chiffons' 1963 hit, He's So Fine. Now, did George Harrison intentionally steal it? Nope. Did it matter? Also nope. A judge ruled that the melodies were virtually identical and slapped Harrison with a plagiarism charge. But here's where it gets wild. Harrison's defense? He claimed it was unconscious plagiarism. Basically, he didn't even realize he was stealing the song. Harrison had to cough up $1.6 million, a massive payout at the time. But here's the twist. Years later, he bought the rights to He's So Fine, meaning he ultimately ended up owning the very song he was accused of stealing. And the whole unconscious plagiarism thing became a legal precedent, used in tons of future cases. Our next case is even crazier though, because this time, an artist got sued for stealing his own song. Number 4, John Fogerty versus himself.
200 million guns a-loading, Satan cries. You got the voices speaking riddle. You got the eyes.
Is it even possible to be taken to court for plagiarizing? Yourself? Sounds impossible, right? Well, welcome to the twisted world of music copyright law. In 1970, CCR dropped Run Through the Jungle, a haunting, swampy track about the dangers of war and violence. Fast forward to 1985, John Fogerty, now a solo artist, releases The Old Man Down the Road. Now the problem was that it sounded a little too much like his old song. Here's the complicated part. Fogerty didn't own his own songs. See, back in the day, CCR's label Fantasy Records had locked up all the rights. So when Fogerty dropped his new hit, Fantasy sued him for ripping off himself. It was a legal circus. Fogerty refused to settle. So what did he do? He took the stand, grabbed a guitar, and played both songs live in court. Right there in front of the judge, he broke down the differences. The tempo was different, the chord progressions weren't identical, and the melody just similar enough to confuse people, but not enough to be considered theft. And you know what? He won. The judge ruled in his favor, saying an artist can't plagiarize their own style. And this case became even more exciting when Fogerty countersued Fantasy Records for malicious prosecution. And won again. Moral of the story, you can't steal your own sound. Number 5, The Beatles versus Chuck Berry.
Here come old flat top, he come grooving up slowly.
Here come a flat top, he was moving up with me, then come waving goodbye.
By 1969, the Beatles were the biggest band in the world. Everything they touched turned to gold. But when they dropped Come Together on Abbey Road, one person wasn't too happy. Chuck Berry's publisher. That whole "Here Come Old Flat Top" line, straight out of Chuck Berry's You Can't Catch Me, and the rhythm was suspiciously similar. Berry's publisher, Morris Levy, immediately sued the Beatles for plagiarism. And here's where things got interesting. John Lennon didn't even deny it. Lennon later admitted he lifted the line on purpose, but thought he had changed it just enough to avoid trouble. So how did the Beatles get out of this one? They settled, but with a twist. Instead of paying up, Lennon agreed to cover 3 songs owned by Levy on his next solo album. So technically, Levy still got paid, just through record sales instead of a lawsuit. Moving on, our next case is one of the biggest rock ripoffs of all time. Number 6, Led Zeppelin versus Jake Holmes.
You heard and abused, telling all of your lies. I'm being abused, I get better off with it.
Led Zeppelin are repeat offenders when it comes to borrowing music. And one of their most famous songs, it wasn't theirs to begin with. Let's talk about Dazed and Confused. Before Zeppelin even touched it, a folk artist named Jake Holmes released a song, also called Dazed and Confused, in 1967. Same title, same chilling descending riff, same moody vibe. So how did it end up as a Zeppelin track? In the late 60s, Jimmy Page saw Holmes perform the song live and thought, hey, that's pretty cool. Then, after the Yardbirds broke up, he reworked it for Led Zeppelin's debut album, with 0 credit. Not even a thanks for the inspiration. Nothing. Holmes later said he considered suing Zeppelin for decades, but never went through with it. Until 2010, over 40 years later. By then, Zeppelin had made millions off the song. Holmes finally sued, and the case settled out of court. After decades of being ignored, Jake Holmes' name finally appeared in the credits. It took 4 decades, but Holmes finally got his dues. Maybe next time Zeppelin should just write their own riffs, or at least change the title. Number 7, Sam Smith versus Tom Petty.
Oh, won't you stay with me? Well, I won't back down. No,
When Sam Smith's Stay With Me dropped in 2014, it was a massive hit. Grammy-winning, chart-topping, everywhere you turn kind of hit. But to some listeners, that chorus sounded way too familiar. The melody was almost identical to Tom Petty's I Won't Back Down. And when Petty heard it, he knew exactly what had happened. But he didn't sue. Instead, his lawyers quietly reached out to Smith's team. And to their credit, Sam Smith admitted they had never heard the song before. Which is hard to believe, considering it's one of the biggest rock songs of all time. Rather than fight it, Smith settled out of court, adding both Tom Petty and Jeff Lynne as co-writers. Petty later said, "These things happen. It's a musical accident, nothing more." A very expensive accident. But at least Smith showed some respect. Our next guy, well, not so much. When Vanilla Ice got caught, he tried denying reality, and it didn't work. Number 8, Vanilla Ice versus Queen and David Bowie.
Yo, VIP.
The moment you hear that bass line, you know what's coming. It's easily one of the most iconic riffs in music history. So when Vanilla Ice dropped Ice Ice Baby in 1989, people immediately recognized it, and Queen and David Bowie, they were not happy. But instead of admitting he sampled the song, Vanilla Ice did something hilarious. He claimed his bass line was totally different because he added one extra beat.
We sampled them from him, but it's not the same bass line. Ding ding diggy ding ding. Ding ding ding. Ours goes ding 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 diggy ding ding. Ding 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 diggy ding ding.
What? Yeah, that argument didn't hold up. Queen and Bowie sued hard, and Vanilla Ice settled out of court. Rumor has it he paid $4 million to make the lawsuit go away. And after that, well, Queen and Bowie let the royalties roll in. Moral of this, if you're gonna steal a song, maybe don't pick one that belongs to two of the most famous artists of all time. Number 9. The Hollies vs. Radiohead.
You float like a feather.
If I could make a wish.
Radiohead's Creep, one of the most iconic alt-rock songs of the 90s. Angsty, moody, a generation-defining track. But the melody, that wasn't theirs. Back in 1974, soft rock band The Hollies released a hit called The Air That I Breathe. And when Radiohead dropped Creep in 1992, people started noticing things. It wasn't just similar, it was almost identical. And the Hollies songwriters, they weren't having it. Radiohead settled out of court, adding Hammond and Hazelwood as official co-writers. So now every time you hear Creep, just remember, a 90s grunge anthem actually owes its existence to a 70s soft rock ballad. And now the final case on our list, it's one of the biggest rip-offs in rock history, and it cost one band everything. Number 10. The Verve vs. the Rolling Stones.
'Cause it's a bittersweet.
This one hurts because the Verve's Bittersweet Symphony was one of the greatest songs of the 90s. It was everywhere. But there was just one problem. They didn't own it. See, the Verve used a sample from an orchestral cover of the Rolling Stones, The Last Time. But they thought they had permission. They even negotiated for it. Except, they didn't ask the right people. Alan Klein, the former Rolling Stones manager, still owned the rights. And when he saw how huge Bittersweet Symphony was getting, he swooped in, and just like that, the Verve lost everything. Mick Jagger and Keith Richards were given full songwriting credit. And the worst part, neither Jagger nor Richards even wrote the orchestral version. But they still got paid. For over 20 years, the Verve made nothing from their own song. In 2019, Jagger and Richards finally returned the rights to the Verve, but the damage was done. So after all these legendary rip-offs, which stolen song was the worst crime in rock history? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. Hit like if you learned something new, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing videos just like this.